Welcome to Maximal Being,
a podcast devoted to ditching fad diets and using real science to get you healthy and feeling great.
I'm Doc Mok, a GI and functional medicine doctor who harnesses the power of gut health to get you achieving your goals.
And I'm Jacky P, a well-informed layman who challenges the experts and asks the questions that you want.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button or leave a comment.
And now, on to the show.
What's going on, Maximal Beings? Doc Mok here with MaximalBeing.com. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment. It does help us to get the word out. If you have any questions, you can email us at team@MaximalBeing.com. Enjoy the episode.
Hello, Maximal Beings. We're back, baby. We're back. We're here. It is I, Jacky P, your favorite layman. And I have, of course, the sunshine from the Sunshine State, living in the Sunshine State. Doc Mok, how are you?
I'm great, Jacky. For those of you listening for the first time, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment. It helps us to get the word out to your fellow gut health enthusiasts, maximal beings out there. I'm Doc Mok. I'm a therapeutic endoscopist, which is a fancy type of GI doctor that diagnoses, treats, palliates GI cancers. And I'm also a board-certified functional medicine doctor. You know, Jacky, you said Sunshine State, and obviously, like, you lived here for a while. It seems like we should just rename it the Hurricane State, I think, like, officially.
True. Yeah. It is that season. And I feel like the hurricane season has been going later and later into the year.
Yeah. And we may get a storm next week. We don't know. Yeah. Maybe it's going to hit Honduras. And the worst thing of all, Jacky, is that the last hurricane, I can't get a haircut because my poor hairstylist, barber, her place got totally flooded as a result.
Oh, no.
I know. It's such a bummer. So those of you that are watching us on YouTube, you can see, like, I got a little, the Jufro thing going on, but those of you that are driving, consider yourself lucky.
If I dare say, you still look great, Doc Mok, and whatever look you got, you crush it.
I got the silver fox going on.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So we are here with Micah, and Micah, we're going to talk about something interesting. We're going to talk about the microbiome, which is obviously Doc Mok's favorite thing to talk about. But Micah, say hello to the people and introduce yourself.
Well, first, it's a pleasure to be on. My name is Micah Lee. I'm 26 years old from Florida. I'm an advocate for African American mental and physical health. And I'm here to speak on Gen Z issues, queer issues, just overall health of colorectal, specifically amongst my generation.
And for those of you that don't know this, I have the pleasure of working with Micah in the outpatient setting. She's a medical assistant, as well as being a strong advocate for such important parts of healthcare. And I think more than ever, it's important to talk about these things right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Are you a healthcare practitioner searching for a comprehensive solution to streamline your patient referrals and improve collaboration with other practitioners? Look no further than Rupa Health, the ultimate platform for integrative and functional medicine practitioners. As a healthcare practitioner, I've struggled with the traditional referral process for labs. It's time-consuming, inefficient, and often lacks the necessary communication between providers and patients. But ever since I started using Rupa Health, everything has changed. That's right, Rupa Health is revolutionizing the way that practitioners connect and order lab work with their patients. Their advanced platform allows you to effortlessly send and receive patient lab referrals and secure their information, sending them the kits directly. This makes the communication directly with other patients and practitioners easy to take care of. I can't stress enough how much time and energy Rupa Health has saved me. With just a few clicks, I can easily order lab work and track their progress, and then I receive the results directly into my inbox, which I can send to the patients automatically with recommendations. Absolutely Rupa Health's extensive network of lab testing and curated, integrated, and functional medicine testing allows practitioners to receive the highest quality of care and dedicate their practice to a patient-centered, holistic approach which aligns perfectly with the values of healthcare in a functional medicine practice. Plus, Rupa Health provides you with excellent customer support. Their team is responsive, knowledgeable, and always helps with assistance in billing questions and how kits are shipped to your patients. They are dedicated to helping practitioners like us provide the best possible care for our patients. And if you're a patient listening, it allows you to seamlessly order your lab testing and receive all of the necessary information. Rupa Health has been a game changer for my practice, and as you know, it will be for yours too. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity to save on lab testing by heading to labs.rupahealth, that's rupa.com/store/storefront_V as in Victory, G as in Grape, X 00400. That's labs.rupahealth.com/store/storefront_V as in Victory, G as in Grape, X 0040. I'll see you later, Maximal Beings.
And I'm gonna ask a question here. And I wish I could say English was my second language to make me sound smarter, but it was my first language. If we're talking about the microbiome across a population, is it a macrobiome? Is that the word? If we're like kind of,
I feel like that term has been thrown around as well because, I mean, we're talking trillions of species, trillions of bacteria, yeast, and parasites that live inside of us every day. The macrobiome absolutely has been described in a populous setting because it's so many microbiomes conglomerated together. But in the research setting, we kind of see each individual as their own unit, and we put those data together once we get it in each individual microbiome. But I love the fact that the economist, the financial guy, thinks about aggregates in terms of the microbiome.
yes, I'm like the beautiful mind, just looking numbers over, but just all gut bacteria, just like
So just poop.
that's just it.
Sounds messy. Sounds
Yeah,
like
sounds
we're at work, Micah. Sounds like we're at
yeah.
work.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this sounds like I'm next to you at work.
Yeah.
So, Micah, you've had the pleasure to work with Doc Mok and probably see his wonderful, massive calf muscles in person. But for those that are first meeting you, if you can give us, your superhero origin story, right? I'm sure, you went, and also hello Floridian, by the way, whoop, whoop. But how did you become such an advocate, right? For what you do. So if you want to catch us all up and walk us through your story.
Well, where I gained my superpower, just overall entailing knowledge about myself. My mother was diagnosed with colorectal cancer and she passed. And that gave me more so of an ambition to understand myself, my genetics, and how I can at least have somewhat of a control over those things, taking proactive measures in order to gain more control over my life.
Wow, that's a powerful story, right? And again,
Yeah.
like I don't know how many times I've said this, right, Doc Mok on the show, but it's always so interesting how personal when folks take up like these types of missions. It's always just such a personal raw story that you sometimes just can't duplicate. So thank you for sharing. And Doc Mok, I know you're gonna nerd out when you get nerd out, but I've got a lot of questions as
Always.
always because I'm a questionable. I got questions. So let's start with like the very basic, right? So you said the microbiome specifically for African Americans and queer folk. If you can help me and people understand, like what are those like differences? Like how did we just find with like data differences? Like how did we learn that the gut bacteria can be different based on where you come from, where you're born, familiar history, I'm sure.
So, I mean, I'll pick it up. I think that it's important to put into context that your ethnic group, your race doesn't necessarily determine what your microbiome is. It may be one factor, but maybe more the result of the differences in what those cultures lead to. So different foods and different places that you may live in the United States, and maybe different religious practices, those sorts of things. So it's not specifically who you are as a person or the color of your skin. It is really more a result of the things that your cultural differences lead to, like diet and exercise, etc.
Right.
Yeah. Do you agree with that, Micah?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
But another important point is that, like a lot of things, and just to put this into context, like the Tuskegee Airmen experiments, which occurred, years ago, which is one of the great travesties of medical research, has led to a lot of mistrust in the
Mm-hmm.
medical community.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think, is always at the backdrop of, gut health issues in the African American community, along with many other health issues. And rightly so. And for those of you that aren't aware of this is an experiment where the Tuskegee Airmen who served in the military were given syphilis and essentially denied treatment. And the people that conducted the study watched them as their diseases progressed and studied them,
Yeah.
which is completely unethical. And thank God we have, institutional review boards that look over research for that reason, for things like that, and all of the Nuremberg experiments that happened during World War II, to the Jewish people. So I think that kind of sets the stage for the differences in gut health issues amongst different communities.
Yeah, I've noticed the general suspicion amongst African American people of Gen Z generation. Um, there's still somewhat of a suspicion with the healthcare system, right? You don't know what is actually true or what is just like a inability to get more cash from you or something like that, or more money from you or something. Um, so there's kind of like a hesitance at first when it comes to getting testing done, when it comes to um, just understanding your own genetics as an individual person, because we're all different people, right? So like that itself, that step first, that plays a huge part as to why, people go into the doctor and they find out something and it's already too late.
Yeah, that's a good point because we've all seen it. I have family members and folks that we know that, when the vaccines came around, right? There was just
Mhm.
it was a very, very large, I'd say, foundation in our community that we're just like, yeah, we've no, like the energy was, um, and we've seen especially disparities in just the care for African American women, just generally, right? Like, and don't hold my feet to the fire with the statistics, but right, like, there's higher rate of death in Black women who are giving birth in hospitals and all these
Right.
things.
Right.
Um, so it is something that should be addressed, and sometimes I think this is less of a medical issue, more of a social thing,
Yeah.
right?
Just
Like,
prepared that distrust in the system.
yeah.
Um, yeah, for sure.
So Michael, what do you see as, and this might be just a loaded question, but what do you see as a path to bridge that gap? Like, what can we see either on the patient side or provider side that would begin to build that trust back?
I feel as if these real conversations happen at home, right? Because you can go to the doctor can tell you something, but that's a doctor, that's a stranger. You don't know that person. But if it's your daughter telling you something, or if it's your cousin telling you something, giving you more based, factual based information, you're more susceptible to that subconsciously overall. You're more likely, well, they're next to you, they're probably going to see you more often than this doctor. So, I mean, you kind of have to understand that all conversations, whether it comes to education, whether it comes to mental health, sexual health, physical health, it all happens in the home. And where it's normalized to have these conversations on health, that's where you have a better chance of having the health of the family being restored, and eventually the trust in the healthcare system being restored as well.
That's a great point of view, right? Because we all get passed down. I just call them isms, right? Whatever bias you might have regarding, I guess, how you interact with the world with familiar ties,
Right,
friends, family, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's a good point. So, Doc Mok, we're gonna do this kind of like the caretaker side, like, Doc Mok, you're trusted. Everyone knows you're wicked smart, right? But have you ever experienced any form of, I don't want to say resistance, but maybe just like distrust, as a medical provider in your experience? And if you're able to share, like, how was that handled? How was that addressed?
Yeah, I think that it absolutely happens. I think as healthcare providers, we blame ourselves, those of us that aren't psychopaths, that is. We think that there's something else that we can do, which is partially true, for some people, but not always true. Like you're saying, Mike, I think that what you said is so insightful, and so valuable. And the fact that, if you're a healthcare provider listening to this, go back and rewind what Micah just said, because it really is important for you to have that insight that people are talking about this, and that, you need to do your best to kind of make up that difference if there is mistrust that exists under the surface. Have I experienced it? Yes. I did my training in Camden, New Jersey. It's a very underserved population. A lot of the times, my secret as a doctor is that I try to get to know people right off the bat. I ask them what they like to do for fun, is usually my opening question, or where they're from, like originally, what they do for a living, all those things. Although what you do for a living does have some like socioeconomic context or biases that could be introduced. So I try to just talk about fun stuff most of the time. And I just listen to people. But despite that, the Camden population, a lot of the times they would tell me, like, you're the first person to actually listen to what I have to say. And thank you. Like, there are people out there in the United States, not in other countries, that are suffering more than you can ever imagine, like living in terror each and every day. And nobody cares about them. They don't. And if you try to do something as a healthcare provider to help that person, it really has a great impact.
Right. Right.
Are you looking for high-quality, evidence-based supplements to support your functional medicine practice? Look no further than FullScript, the leading platform for healthcare practitioners to prescribe and order professional-grade supplements. As a functional medicine and gastroenterology doctor, I trust FullScript to provide me with a wide range of high-quality supplements that meet specific needs of my patients. Their extensive product catalog includes trusted brands, ensuring that I have access to the best options for my patients' health. That's right, FullScript offers a comprehensive selection of supplements, including vitamins, minerals, botanicals, and specialty formulations, all sourced from reputable manufacturers. Plus, their rigorous quality control ensures that you're getting products that meet the highest quality standards of purity and potency. And what I love most about FullScript is the convenience it offers. With their user-friendly online platform, I can easily browse, prescribe, and manage supplement protocols for my patients. It saves me valuable time and streamlines the ordering process. Absolutely, FullScript makes it easy to create customized protocols for your patients and track their progress. Plus, they handle all the logistics from inventory management to shipping, so you can focus on what matters most, providing excellent care to your patients. So if you're ready to take your functional medicine practice or wellness to the next level, visit us.fullscript.com/welcome/maximalbeing. That's us.fullscript.com/welcome/maximalbeing to receive your 15% discount on customized supplements and check Maximal Being standardized protocols for gut health. FullScript has been a game changer for my practice, and I know it will be for yours. Don't miss out on this incredible resource for functional medicine practitioners and patients alike today.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Everyone who listens, if this is your first time listening, I am a sickle cell warrior because folks with sickle cell are warriors. And I will tell you, it is night and day when you speak to someone who is, and I get it, right? Again, you're busy, especially in the hospital. You got 30 patients and you're overworked, but there's definitely something I think that helps me feel a bit more at ease when someone even just 1% feel like, oh, you know what, they actually might care if I feel better, and not just, oh, your pain is a 7, here's some pills, here's another pain dose, and I'm out the door. So that is something for me, I have built and earned more trust for care providers because of little interactions like that. Because I don't know anyone who hasn't had any some form of prejudice and dealt with any biases. So, yeah, caretakers, takes an extra 30 seconds just to act like you care and put your best foot forward. Um, yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, Micah.
I agree. I also feel as if having a parent who was sick and would go to these doctor's appointments, and she had a habit of holding her tongue on any issues that would arise, and she would just say, "Oh, it's fine, everything's fine." Meanwhile, she'd go home and unfold all these issues that could have been, give the doctor a chance to at least try to give you a solution versus you just swallowing the pain until it becomes unbearable. I mean, I kind of feel like as her family member, as her daughter, it was my responsibility to just like, hey, you can be a little bit more honest. You can at least try to um, give them a hand in helping you. I mean, we're here for you at the end of the day.
Yeah, and education also goes a long way.
Hmm.
I read a statistic which was scary. I don't remember. I could look it up real quick, but I don't know if it was med students or what level in the space, but literally like an alarming amount of care providers literally believe that African Americans had a higher pain tolerance.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like, and I don't mean like, oh, 10%. It was more than half, which was very scary. So
Very, very scary, very dangerous way of thinking.
yeah. So even just the education component can really go a long way with that because again, everyone has their isms and it's not usually, and it can just be a belief they picked up along the way or,
Right. And
and
I
it's just, yeah.
to sit back and understand that, holy crap, there's a history as to why my family members, specifically my mother and my aunts and stuff like that, they would hold back because they already felt like they weren't going to be believed or their, issues were going to be taken seriously. So I had to take a step back and understand the history behind her holding herself back. And that really reshaped, kind of brought a balance to the provider to patient and family relation when it comes to health in general.
You
No,
hit on
that's
something really useful. Apologies for interrupting you, Jacky. Really useful there, Micah, is like not only was your mom African American, but she also was a woman.
Hmm.
And there are oodles of data that as healthcare providers, we often dismiss the issues that women bring us.
Hmm.
Um, Specifically in the GI space, myself and a very bright young doctor, Sarah Dwyer, did a study with our patients at various institutions across the United States who eventually needed a procedure to have a bile duct stone removed.
Mm-hmm.
And of that cohort, women, as opposed to men, were less likely to undergo a diagnostic workup, meaning if a woman came to see a doctor with abdominal pain and it's from a stone in their bile duct that needs to be removed, that woman, as opposed to a man, was less likely to get labs and
Mm-hmm. Right,
and,
right.
and that study is going to be published soon. But it's crazy,
It
right?
is,
Very,
yeah.
yeah, it's very insane. And I can also relate to that as well. Not me personally, but again, my mother, um, she would go to the doctor with any issues, with any pain that could have given her more of an insight of what was happening on the inside. But because of the stigma or just the general lack of education, um, she would go without and just quote unquote suck it up or thug it out, um, to be honest.
Hmm.
Um, and that was detrimental. Not only was it detrimental to her, but being her child, watching that, it was detrimental to me because if I see her just quote unquote thugging it out, I'm also going to grow up to do the same thing. So it keeps going.
Yeah. It is a cycle. Because then what happens is she thugs it out, right? And also layman, for those who don't know what that means, thugging it out, I guess.
Can I
It
throw a
just,
layman card?
yeah, throw a layman card.
Yeah, give it a
It
go.
it just means like just dealing with the pain, right? Um, I'll speak personal experience. Sometimes I don't want to deal with the hassle of the emergency department, and I can delay going to the hospital because I'm like, I'm just gonna fight with this as long as possible. But what ends up happening is you get in worse condition. So then when you present to the emergency department, you know, if you were there an hour or even a day before, you could have been in a better place
Position.
for care.
Right,
So
right.
it becomes this vicious cycle, and it's sometimes hard to get out. Even for me, who I know, okay, I'm sick, I'm in an episode, I need to go, but I'm like, oh, it's 11 a.m. on a Wednesday. That place is going to be packed.
Right.
I don't want to deal with it. And it's the middle of flu season, people hawking and coughing. So, yeah, and I think there's a phrase that I don't know what industry, but the fake it until you make it, where the trust we have to lend the trust, right? We have to just believe that the people we go see will take care of us and want to help us.
Right.
Because the saying, right, you gain it in spoonfuls and you lose it by the gallon. But if we're trying to gain in spoonfuls, it's going to take forever to really trust the system. And sometimes it just might be not the right place for you, right? I changed hospital systems in here in Philly because one system I was like, this didn't really work for me. And then I changed. And then now it's like, wow, it's night and day. So sometimes it just might be that particular provider, finding the right provider for you that, the Doc Mocs of the world who's going to care for you and, think about you on at night and on the weekends because, he really cares about his patients.
Right. I can also align with that as well. My mother went to an oncologist in Tallahassee, Florida, and it just felt like she was being rushed in and out of the clinic. And I felt her slowly withdraw with every appointment. So that kind of gave her more so psychologically, it just made her feel like she was just asking for too much. And then I ended up moving to Central Florida, working and stuff like that. And I suggested, like, just go check out Moffitt Cancer Center. And she ended up being seen by Dr. Monaraj. Shout out to you. And
It's awesome.
actually
Yeah.
being heard, being listened to, um, being comforted as well. And it really does go into who you're being seen by as well, who's taking care of you, who's fighting for you, who's on your side. It all makes a difference.
All these things we're talking about are the symptoms. And obviously, the diagnosis are, healthcare disparities, but then the result, if you look at the data, one of my societies, the AGA, American Gastroenterological Association, came out with a paper in which they evaluated the results of the African American population as compared to not African American population. And this is largely based on the SEER database, which is like a big national cancer database. And what they found is that if an African American person is diagnosed with colon cancer, they are 20% more likely to die from that colon cancer as compared to a not African American person, which is pretty astounding in my opinion.
Yeah. And then I also had to have conversations with my father, with my brother, and, that getting those exams alone, putting that pride to the side as a man, being able to like, hey, this doesn't seem right. Something feels off. What do I do? They're comfortable enough to come to me and ask me, what do I do? And it's up to me to like, hey, you need to go get that checked out. That's not okay. So I'm happy to be able to redirect other family members to the correct care in a timely manner.
And another thing that's not really well known by GI doctors is that for some reason, African American men have a higher risk of colon cancer as compared to not African American men. And we don't really know why. I'm sure the microbiome is part of it, but the American College of Gastroenterology has always recommended screening for African American men about 5 years younger than that of even the general population. So now, most recently, the age dropped from 50 to 45. They've always recommended 45 for African American men. And so it'll be interesting to see, do they move that needle back further, as we're noticing that people get diagnosed early and earlier with colon cancer.
I thought it would be more helpful to reduce my brother's anxiety in general when it comes to cancer, to just go get the exam.
Yeah.
He's 21 years old. So it gave him a sense of comfort. Again, a sense of control over his own health. Genetics are genetics, but if you can do whatever you can to at least fight it off, give it a shot.
Well put.
Yep.
The content included is not intended to be used as medical advice, and viewers should consult their physician or healthcare provider should they have additional questions. The viewers should not rely on information contained in these presentations for immediate or urgent medical needs. Additionally, if you think you have a medical emergency, call your physician or go to the emergency department or call 911 immediately. Never disregard professional medical advice or rely on seeking medical care or delay medical care due to information contained in this presentation. What's going on, Maximal Beings? Doc Mok here. If you haven't done so already, leave us a comment and hit the subscribe button. Let your friends and family know. That way we can get the word out and continue to bash the bro science.